This is BoomerLife on CL 650.
If I had $1 million, well, I'd buy you a house. I would buy you a house.
Welcome to Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton. I'm thinking in Vancouver you might need more than $1 million these days, but today we are speaking about your financial future, and we're speaking with JimDoyle, Senior Financial Consultant with Investors Group Financial Services. So are you where you want to be financially? A well-thought-out plan for your financial future is an integral part of building the life that you want for both yourself and for your family. And Jim, over the past several shows, you've reiterated numerous times how most investors across all age groups and income brackets build more wealth when they work with an advisor. And those figures were actually quite significant. Many of us would like to achieve more, but we seem to be floundering. So the big skill testing question is, why?
I think it all starts with getting people engaged in the process, okay? And that's the most daunting. The second place that we kind of start is looking at enthusiasm for taking on the job. Complexity, I think, is another thing that might scare people away. You know, who do you trust? Commitment to sticking with planning essentials through thick and thin. And I think that's really tough. We've got time limitations, and even the mood of the markets themselves all have a hand to play in whether people are engaged or not in their own financial picture.
Some excellent points there. And Jim, I've spent enough time with you at this point to say that it's pretty obvious that personal objectives don't relate to the market, really, in almost any way.
Unfortunately, for too many investors, investment performance relative to the market has become more important than progress towards achieving financial goals. If all you're chasing is a performance number, then I can understand why investors need to change investments so frequently. They're chasing a number. It's possible they may not be leveraging their investments to help them fulfill their retirement vision.
So by leveraging their investments, I presume that you mean they're not focusing on their investments in a way that would allow them to work as hard for them as they should.
You're right.
Okay.
According to Dalbar, over the past 20 years, ending December 31st, 2015, the U.S. stock market has returned 8.9% on an annual basis. The average investor has earned a measly 2.1% over the same period. That doesn't even keep up with inflation.
Well, that seems like a pretty decent return, but also a really big gap. Were there any other findings to suggest why that gap was so large?
Well, the study suggests there's a number of reasons for this gap, and I get to see many of them in my practice on a daily basis. The biggest is the fact that individuals invest with their hearts instead of their brains.
We know achieving retirement fulfillment means different things to different people, but at its core, having a clear picture of who you want to be in retirement has got to be pretty central, wouldn't you think?
It starts with being prepared, not just financially, but emotionally, socially, physically. It's one of the most exciting times of a person's life.
Well, in today's golden age of do-it-yourself investing, how do you know when you actually need a financial advisor?
A good place to start is by asking yourself exactly that question. You know, with corporate filings and stock analysis littering the internet and trading becoming almost free, you've got thousands and thousands of stocks and bonds to pick from. Some can do the tricky work of annual rebalancing and shifting to more conservative investments as retirement gets closer. But I think some items will never help you answer questions like, how much do I need to save for retirement? How do I minimize taxes? Or which investment return should I look for? And it's hard to find software that tells you which trade-offs to make in your life.
Often, hiring a pro can be the right decision, but many people who want to manage investments can actually do it on their own. So how do you know when it is that you actually need a professional financial advisor?
You're right, but a good financial planner will do so much more. One event that's not so much fun is when there's a wake-up call, a life-changing event that really pushes someone to seek the professional advice they need. 3 things I focus on when determining if somebody may benefit from hiring me is inclination, discipline, and time.
Did you say time? Who has extra time?
We appreciate people have great intentions, but if you're not going to commit the time, chances are the outcome may not be what you need or expect, leaving financial blind spots. If you don't like managing finances, a pro may be the right answer. Deciding what kind of advisor is best for you to work with and what you're willing to pay for are essential. Just because a traditional broker specializes in trading stocks, bonds, funds, or other products doesn't mean that they do so designing a master financial plan.
I actually love that phrase, financial blind spots, and you've used that a couple of times in the show today. So, Jim, I'm going to guess that good financial planning will mean different things for different people. But in the end, I would most likely want to work with someone who could actually look across my entire financial life, looking at the big picture.
Financial planning works best as a long-term relationship, and I'm going to suggest the longer we work with the client, the more scope and trust each of us has invested in the relationship. The real bonus can be when we bring light to areas you may not have even considered.
So when you consider that your retirement could last as long as your working life, it's pretty hard not to envision that this should take some planning to make sure it all works out well. It is essential to work with an advisor. What are 3 of the most important questions that a financial planner can help you with?
Well, I hope you like these. First, how long will my retirement savings last? Second, what will my annual income be in retirement? And third, can I have the lifestyle I want to live?
So if you find yourself asking these questions, this is probably a good time to give you Jim's number once again, 604-682-5431. So if someone is already retired, is it too late for them to engage in some meaningful planning right now?
Absolutely not. One of the goals of retirement planning is creating retirement income that is predictable enough to make plans and sustainable enough to last as long as you need it.
Well, Jim, you've mentioned before that a significant number of pre-retirees expect to continue working into retirement. So why would this be a concern?
There was a study from the Employees Benefit Research Institute that indicated 49% of retirees, yes, 49%, left the workforce earlier than they planned, either because of disability or layoff. The real trick here is that regardless of when you plan to hand in the keys, you need to know what you're going to be doing the first day the alarm clock doesn't go off. You need a plan.
I think that plan would be, and most people would say they're going to do nothing on that day one. They're going to be sleeping in. So, Jim, you've been doing this for a long time. What can you say about what most people intend to do with their retirement time?
The March 2016 Fidelity Retirement Survey mirrors a lot of what we see in our client experiences. High on the list of how retirees were intending to use their time was travel. Almost as high was reading. Then came gardening, and after that, being an engaged grandparent. Now, there's really no right or wrong answers here.
This sounds pretty good so far. What else was on the list?
Internet enthusiast, followed by being socially active, and then one of my favorites, foodie, and then golfing.
Golf still in the top, 6 or 7? And I like the idea of being a foodie too. What a great retirement ambition.
Achieving retirement fulfillment means that individuals have a clear picture of who they want to be in retirement and the path they will have to take to get there.
Well, I know from my own perspective that planning ahead can sometimes be a little bit stressful. Maybe it's because there's so many moving parts that I have to juggle, but I think it'd be a whole lot easier if there was something like a financial planning cookbook or some kind of checklist to follow.
Well, imagine your financial cookbook had 6 tabs that would help you achieve retirement readiness. And say for the first tab, develop your retirement vision, and that includes your partner's vision too. The second tab, envision your retirement lifestyle. Third, try out retirement activities before you retire. Next, most importantly, get advice. Followed by, create your retirement paycheck. And lastly, be careful about debt.
Oh, this sounds good. I'd actually buy that cookbook.
It starts with your vision of retirement, and I can't repeat this often enough, your spouse's vision of retirement. Just because every retirement journey is unique, even amongst long-married couples, it's so important to envision your retirement lifestyle.
So without conversation, I imagine some couples just assume that they're on the same page. And that covers off your numbers 1 and 2. What other retirement ingredients would you suggest adding?
The third one is to try some of the retirement activities you're interested in before you retire. This gives you an opportunity to get a better sense of those activities you like to do and revise your plans ahead of time.
So, Jim, give us an example. What's a real-life plan that you've actually helped design to turn someone's retirement vision into reality?
Years ago, I had a couple that wanted to do a fair bit of travel, and they decided to buy a Class A motorhome. Roads travel in style, how wonderful. When they weren't using it, their plan was to have it rented out to a firm that specialized in this. They didn't want the hassle of taking rentals, cleaning it, vetting renters, etc. When we looked at the numbers, though, we found that the rental company was only interested in 3 years or newer models, which meant after 3 years, they'd have to be on their own, something they hadn't envisioned.
So what did you do?
As an alternative, we talked about them renting motorhomes until they found a size they could handle, which afforded them the comfort and the features they wanted. They ended up really happy because they were harboring fears about tying up so much money in something that didn't give them everything that they wanted.
Well, it sounds like a good outcome. And so far, we've heard about developing your retirement vision and envisioning your retirement lifestyle. I also like the suggestion of trying out some retirement activities or interests before you actually retire. I think that's a great example. So what else would you put on that list? And which tab are we on now?
I think it's number 4, right? Get advice. Speak with a financial planner to create a sustainable plan that fits your vision of retirement. See if there are any financial blind spots you might have. Next on the list, I think that's number 5, create your retirement paycheck. And this means diversifying your retirement income to protect against the unexpected. Number 6, and it's substantial, be careful how you use debt. Think about the type and level of debt you're comfortable carrying, because it can be hard to retire debt from a fixed income.
So the biggest item I've taken from this list is to actually get advice. If you're not already speaking with someone about your plan, Jim, do you think you might like to take their call if they have a few questions for you? Actually, I know that answer. If you have questions, call Jim Doyle, 604-682-5431.
Thanks, Joanne. Let me add one more tab. One of the final items for this retirement cookbook. Get involved. Be an active participant in your retirement planning. Talk with your partner and your advisor regularly to evaluate your progress on achieving your retirement vision and understand how and why your investment selections fit your plan.
I think I'm like a lot of investors. I look at my statements when they come in, and if the returns are good, I probably don't pay much attention to it. So what I think I'm hearing you say is that maybe I should spend just a little more time actually looking at why I have what I have and how it's going to help me achieve my financial goals.
It's a story that is more common than you might think. We often see people hold investments with little understanding of what they have, performance expectations, or benchmarks to measure against, or even what risks the investments carry.
There's a lot of parts to get right here, and that's why I'm really happy that you're here to give us some encouragement, to take a little time to take a little closer look at our own financial picture.
As we contend with a decline in traditional sources of retirement income, coupled with living longer, taking meaningful steps, such as working with an advisor to address these challenges, it's vital.
It is. So once again, it's a great reminder that life is a journey, and like any successful journey, it should always include good planning, and that means taking contingencies into consideration. You are listening to Boomer Life on CL 650. I'm Joanne Sutton, joined in studio today speaking with Jim Doyle, Senior Financial Consultant with Investors Group. Are you concerned your investments might not be doing everything they need to be doing for you? To learn how Jim can help, give him a phone call at 604-682-5431 or send him an email, jim.doyle@investorsgroup.com. Markets continue to remain unsettled, but some fundamentals never change. Jim offers insights into planning that might be worthy of a fresh look. Get yourself in the right position. That's all coming up next on Boomer Life on CL 650.
Canada's only weekly radio show dedicated to the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CL 650.